A human scream shattered the silence, and the ancient seal awoke before the entire council. Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps support the channel. The Grand Council Chamber of the Galactic Confederation hung suspended in the void between stars, a marvel of engineering that had stood for 10,000 years. Inside, 200 representatives from the most advanced species in the known universe sat in cold silence as they contemplated the fate of Earth. Ambassador Lauren Bennett stood alone at the center of the vast circular chamber, the sole human representative permitted to attend this extraordinary session. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she faced the impassive stares of beings whose civilizations had conquered the stars while humans were still discovering fire. She had been granted exactly one standard galactic hour to make humanity's case against extinction. Distinguished members of the council, Lauren began, her voice remarkably steady despite the circumstances. I stand before you as Earth's advocate. You have judged my species too dangerous to join your confederation, too unpredictable to be allowed further technological advancement. You have declared us a threat to galactic stability. The presider, a towering Zentari with crystalline skin that refracted light in mesmerizing patterns, raised a seven-fingered hand. Ambassador Bennett, the judgment has been rendered after 3 centuries of observation. Humans possess a unique and troubling capacity for both creation and destruction that exceeds rational parameters. Your species' neural pathways process fear, anger, and determination in ways that our specialists have deemed potentially catastrophic if applied to advanced technologies. Lauren nodded respectfully. I understand your concerns, Presider, but I ask you to consider that these same qualities have allowed us to survive against impossible odds. When the Maldorian plague struck Earth 50 years ago, it was human scientists who developed the cure that saved not only our world, but 17 others in the Confederation. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Maldorian plague had been one of the deadliest biological events in recent galactic history, and the human contribution to its resolution was undeniable. A Techri representative, insectoid and precise in movement, clicked forward. The plague incident has been noted in your favor, Ambassador, but it does not outweigh the Council's primary concern, your species' unpredictability. The computational models clearly indicate that within 300 years, humans will either destroy themselves or pose an existential threat to established galactic order. Lauren felt a chill run through her body. The Confederation's predictive models were renowned for their accuracy. If they had forecasted humanity's potential threat with such certainty, her task was nearly impossible. I respectfully submit that perhaps your models fail to account for something essential about humanity, Lauren said, stepping forward. Something that cannot be reduced to equations or probability matrices. The chamber grew utterly silent. Challenging the Confederation's predictive systems was considered somewhere between blasphemy and insanity. You claim our models, refined over 8,000 years, are inadequate. The presider's voice had dropped dangerously low, crystalline skin flashing with patterns that indicated severe displeasure. Lauren took a deep breath. This was the moment she had prepared for, the last desperate gambit approved by Earth's unified government. I propose a demonstration rather than an argument. With your permission, I would like to activate a device I've brought with me. The security protocols of the chamber instantly engaged. Containment fields shimmered into existence around Lauren as weapon systems emerged from hidden compartments in the walls. Explain immediately, demanded the presider. It's not a weapon, Lauren said quickly, raising her hands. It's a cultural artifact, a recording device containing examples of human expression. I believe it may help illustrate what your models cannot quantify. After a tense moment of silent communication among the council members, the presider nodded. Proceed, but be warned that any threatening action will result in immediate neutralization. Lauren reached slowly into her diplomatic pouch and withdrew a small sphere of polished obsidian. It was an ancient Earth artifact, modified with the most advanced technology humanity could produce. She placed it carefully on the floor before her. This contains recordings of human expressions that we believe represent our essence. What makes us uniquely human? I request permission to activate it. The presider conferred with several security advisors before nodding again. You may activate your device, Ambassador Bennett. Lauren touched the sphere gently, and it began to glow with a soft blue light. The chamber's lighting automatically dimmed as the device projected a holographic display above it. The first image materialized, a human child taking her first steps, falling, crying briefly, then standing again with determination to try once more. The recording captured not just the visual scene, but the emotional resonance of the moment, the parent's pride, the child's frustration and resolve. This is perseverance, Lauren explained. The unwillingness to accept failure as final. The image shifted to a team of scientists working frantically in a laboratory, faces haggard from lack of sleep, but eyes bright with purpose. This is dedication to purpose beyond self-preservation. Next came scenes of human creativity. Artists, musicians, writers, each creating works that attempted to capture something beyond the material world. The council members watched in silence, their expressions unreadable to human eyes. Lauren couldn't tell if she was making any impact at all. She continued through carefully selected moments of human history, acts of sacrifice, moments of insight, examples of cooperation in the face of disaster. The sphere projected each with perfect clarity, embedding the emotional content in ways that transcended mere visual representation. And now, Lauren said, her heart pounding, I would like to show you something that your models have identified as one of humanity's most dangerous attributes, our response to existential threat. The hologram shifted to show Earth during the Maldorian plague. Cities burned as quarantine protocols failed. Medical facilities overflowed with the dying. Systems of order collapsed under the weight of panic and despair. This was humanity on the edge of extinction, Lauren narrated. Your models predicted our complete societal collapse within weeks. They gave us a 0% chance of developing a cure independently. The images changed to show laboratories where human scientists worked without sleep for days, taking enormous personal risks to study the pathogen. It showed families sharing dwindling supplies with strangers, communities organizing against impossible odds. When faced with extinction, we did not behave as your models predicted. We did not turn on each other exclusively. We did not surrender to inevitability. Instead, something else happened, something your equations couldn't capture. The hologram now displayed Dr. Nathan Brooks, the scientist who had finally identified the mechanism that made the Maldorian pathogen so deadly. The recording showed the exact moment of his breakthrough, his eyes widening with sudden understanding, the trembling of his hands as he confirmed his discovery, and then the pure, visceral emotion that followed. Dr. Brooks threw back his head and screamed. It wasn't a scream of fear or pain, but something else entirely, a primal release of emotion that contained triumph, relief, defiance, and joy all at once. The scream lasted for seconds that seemed to stretch into eternity. As the sound filled the council chamber, something unprecedented occurred. At the center of the chamber floor, ancient markings that had been dormant for millennia began to glow. The patterns, built into the very foundation of the council chamber by its long-forgotten creators, pulsed with increasing brightness. Lauren froze in confusion. This wasn't part of her presentation. The council members reacted with varying degrees of alarm and astonishment. The presider rose to full height, crystalline form flashing with patterns Lauren had never seen before. Stopped the demonstration immediately, but it was too late. The ancient markings on the floor, what the council had always referred to as the seal, were fully activated now, responding somehow to the recorded human scream. A column of light erupted from the center of the patterns, projecting a new holographic image that dwarfed Lauren's presentation. A figure materialized within the light, humanoid but clearly not human, with proportions and features that suggested an entirely different evolutionary path. When it spoke, the chamber's translation systems struggled momentarily before converting its language. Verification sequence accepted. Genetic and emotional resonance patterns confirmed. After 50,000 years, the inheritors have arrived. The council erupted into chaos. The presider attempted to restore order while security protocols engaged throughout the chamber. Lauren stood frozen in place, as confused as everyone else. The projected figure continued. I am Guardian Archival Interface 7, left by the predecessors to recognize those who would follow our path. The emotional signature just registered matches the predictive models with 99.8% accuracy. The inheritors have been located. The presider finally managed to establish enough order to address the apparition. What is the meaning of this intrusion? The seal has been dormant since the founding of the Confederation. The Guardian interface turned its attention to the presider. The seal was designed to recognize the emotional and cognitive patterns of our designated successors. It has remained dormant because those patterns have not been detected in this chamber until now. Lauren found her voice. I don't understand. What successors? Who were the predecessors? The Guardian interface focused on Lauren with an intensity that made her step back involuntarily. The predecessors were the first spacefaring civilization in this galaxy. They seeded worlds, established the foundations of what you now call the Confederation, and departed this realm 50,000 years ago. Before leaving, they encoded recognition patterns that would identify species with the potential to continue their work. And you're claiming humans match these patterns? Lauren asked, disbelief evident in her voice. Not merely match, the Guardian replied. Your species exceeds the predicted parameters in key aspects. The emotional response just demonstrated, what you call a scream, contains harmonic patterns that are unique to those the predecessors designated as inheritors. The Techri representative clicked forward aggressively. This is absurd. Humans are primitive, volatile, and dangerous. They cannot possibly be the inheritors of the predecessor's legacy. The Guardian interface turned to regard the Techri. Your assessment is partially correct. The inheritors were predicted to be volatile and potentially dangerous. These qualities were considered essential by the predecessors for the challenges that lie ahead. Lauren felt a sudden shift in the chamber's atmosphere. The council members were no longer looking at her with dismissal or condescension. Now there was something new in their collective gaze, uncertainty, and in some cases, the beginning of fear. The presider addressed the Guardian directly. What challenges do you speak of? The Confederation has maintained peace for 10,000 years. Peace is temporary, the Guardian stated with a certainty that sent chills through the chamber. The predecessors encountered forces beyond this galaxy that necessitated their departure. They predicted these forces would eventually reach this realm. The inheritors were seeded to evolve the specific cognitive and emotional attributes needed to confront this threat. Lauren's mind raced. Are you saying humans were created by these predecessors? Not created, the Guardian corrected. Guided. Your evolutionary path was subtly influenced to develop specific traits. Your capacity for emotional response tied directly to problem solving. Your ability to function optimally under threat. Your seemingly irrational persistence in the face of impossible odds. These were not accidents of evolution. The implications staggered Lauren. Earth's history, humanity's development, had it all been part of some ancient plan? The presider's voice cut through her thoughts. Guardian, what evidence can you provide to support these extraordinary claims? In response, the light column expanded, and new holographic displays filled the chamber. They showed star maps, technological schematics, biological analyses, and historical records dating back to before the Confederation's founding. The complete archives of the predecessors have been preserved within the seal, the Guardian explained. They are now available to the inheritors and those who align with them. A Meridian counselor, known for their strict dedication to logical analysis, floated forward. These archives appear genuine. The technological principles displayed are consistent with theoretical models of pre-Confederation development, but far exceed what our historians believed possible for that era. The council chamber had fallen into an uneasy silence as the implications settled over the assembly. Lauren felt suddenly dizzy with the weight of responsibility that had just been thrust upon humanity, a species that had only achieved interstellar travel within the last century. Guardian, she asked, why activate the seal now? Why not when humans first achieved space travel, or when we made contact with the Confederation? The activation parameters were specific, the Guardian replied. The inheritors needed to demonstrate not just technological achievement, but the emotional resonance pattern that indicates readiness. Your demonstration provided both components simultaneously, evidence of your species' response to existential threat, coupled with the specific emotional harmonic that the predecessors identified as crucial. The presider had regained composure and addressed the council. This development requires immediate deliberation. Ambassador Bennett, you will remain while the council consults on this matter. Lauren nodded, still trying to process everything that had happened. As the council members engaged in silent communication through their neural interfaces, she studied the continuing display of predecessor archives. The technological schematics alone represented advancements that human scientists had only theorized about. If this knowledge became available to humanity, it would catapult Earth's development forward by centuries, if not millennia. But something bothered her about the situation. Guardian, you said the predecessors departed this realm. Where did they go, and why didn't they confront these external threats themselves? The Guardian's projection flickered slightly before responding. The complete answer to that question requires security clearance that has not yet been established. However, I can state that the predecessors concluded that their cognitive architecture was ultimately unsuitable for the challenges they encountered. They determined that a different approach would be required, one that they could not adopt themselves due to fundamental limitations in their psychology. And humans don't have these limitations? Lauren pressed. Correct. Your species possesses a cognitive flexibility and emotional range that the predecessors lacked. Your reactions to threat include paths they could not conceive. Before Lauren could ask further questions, the presider signaled the end of the council's deliberation. The chamber's lighting returned to normal levels as the counselors refocused their attention. The council has reached a preliminary decision, the presider announced. The activation of the predecessor seal represents an unprecedented development in Confederation history. If the Guardian's claims are accurate, the implications extend beyond our existing protocols and governance structures. Lauren held her breath, waiting for the verdict on humanity's fate. Therefore, the presider continued, the extinction order against Earth is hereby suspended pending full verification of the Guardian's claims. Ambassador Bennett, your species will be granted provisional protected status while a joint research initiative investigates the predecessor archives and the alleged connection to humanity. Relief flooded through Lauren, though she knew this was only a temporary reprieve. The council had not accepted humanity as equals, merely postponed their judgment in light of this new development. The presider wasn't finished. However, we cannot ignore the potential dangers your species represents. Therefore, all human worlds will remain under Confederation monitoring, and restrictions on certain technological developments will continue. Lauren started to protest, but the Guardian interface interrupted. Such restrictions contradict predecessor protocols, it stated firmly. The inheritors must be granted full access to their legacy in order to prepare for what is to come. The chamber grew tense once more as the presider and the Guardian seemed locked in a battle of wills. Finally, the presider spoke again. The council proposes a compromise. Humans will be granted access to predecessor knowledge in controlled stages, with Confederation oversight. This approach balances the need for preparation against the risks of too rapid advancement. The Guardian appeared to consider this proposal acceptable, provided that acceleration of access is permitted when certain development milestones are achieved. The presider turned to Lauren. Ambassador Bennett, do you accept these terms on behalf of humanity? Lauren thought carefully before responding. This was far more than she had hoped to achieve when she entered the chamber, yet it still placed humanity under the Confederation's control. But it also opened a path forward that hadn't existed before. On behalf of Earth's unified government, I accept these terms as a starting point for a new relationship between humanity and the Confederation, she said formally. However, I request that I be permitted to return to Earth with the Guardian interface or a representative proxy to provide direct evidence of these developments to my government. After a brief consultation, the presider nodded. Your request is granted. A secure data node containing a limited instance of the Guardian interface will be prepared for transport to Earth. A Confederation delegation will accompany you to establish protocols for the initial knowledge transfer. As the formal proceedings concluded, Lauren felt both triumph and trepidation. Humanity had been granted a reprieve from extinction, but at the cost of becoming the focus of intense scrutiny from the entire Confederation. And whatever threat the predecessors had fled from, whatever challenge humanity was supposedly evolved to face, remained an ominous mystery. The Guardian approached her as the council members began to disperse. The path ahead will not be easy, Ambassador Bennett. The Confederation fears what they do not understand, and they do not understand humanity. And do you understand us? Lauren asked. Better than they do, the Guardian replied. But even the predecessors could not fully predict what you would become. They only knew what you would need to be. And what is that? The Guardian's projection seemed to study her for a long moment before answering. Unpredictable, adaptable, emotional yet rational, capable of both great harmony and great discord, willing to sacrifice and willing to fight. In short, everything the Confederation fears about you is exactly what the predecessors valued. Lauren thought about the scream that had activated the seal, a human expression of triumph against impossible odds, of defiance in the face of extinction. Perhaps there was something uniquely human in that response after all. Guardian, she said quietly, you mentioned forces beyond our galaxy that the predecessors encountered. How imminent is this threat? The Guardian's projection dimmed slightly. The temporal calculations have a significant margin of error. However, based on the most recent data available in the archives, first contact with these external forces could occur within your lifetime, Ambassador Bennett. Lauren felt her blood run cold. Humanity had barely established itself among the stars, and now they were being told they might face an intergalactic threat within decades. We're not ready, she whispered. No inheritor species ever believes they are ready, the Guardian replied. And yet, the predecessors were confident in their choice. The qualities that make humans dangerous to the Confederation are the same qualities that may save this galaxy. As Lauren prepared to leave the chamber with her Confederation escorts, she took one last look at the now dormant seal in the floor. A human scream had awakened something ancient and powerful, something that had apparently been waiting specifically for humanity since before Earth had developed civilization. The weight of this new responsibility settled on her shoulders as she stepped into the corridor. Somehow, she would have to explain to Earth's leaders that humanity had just been cast in a role they never sought, in a cosmic drama they didn't understand, facing an enemy they couldn't yet imagine. And yet, wasn't that the story of human history? Facing the unknown, overcoming impossible odds, finding ways to survive and thrive where logical analysis would predict only failure? Perhaps the predecessors had chosen well after all. Lauren straightened her shoulders and quickened her pace. She had a message to deliver to Earth, and time might be shorter than anyone had realized. The diplomatic vessel Celestial Accord sliced through hyperspace, carrying Ambassador Lauren Bennett back to Earth. She sat alone in her quarters, staring at the small obsidian cube that contained a fragment of the Guardian interface. Guardian, she said quietly, and the cube activated, projecting the same humanoid figure she had seen in the chamber. Ambassador Bennett, the Guardian acknowledged. You seem troubled. Lauren laughed without humor. 24 hours ago, I was making humanity's final plea before extinction. Now I'm carrying home news that we're some kind of chosen species. Not created, the Guardian corrected. Guided. The distinction is important. Guided by whom exactly? Lauren pressed. You call them predecessors, but who were they? The Guardian's projection shifted, transforming into a tall, slender being with 6 limbs and a head featuring multiple sensory organs arranged in a pattern unlike any Earth species. Its skin had a metallic sheen that rippled with color. "This is a visual representation of the predecessors," the Guardian explained. "They called themselves the Vexery. They evaluated thousands of potential worlds for specific evolutionary trajectories. Earth was chosen because your planet's conditions would naturally select for the cognitive traits they sought." The return to Earth was a whirlwind of security protocols and hurried briefings. 12 hours after landing, Lauren stood in Earth's unified council chamber, recounting the events at the Confederation Council to the 75 representatives of Earth's nations. Chancellor Ethan Cole leaned forward. "Ambassador Bennett, let me be sure I understand. The Confederation was about to order our extinction, but instead granted us protected status because this Guardian claims we're the chosen successors of some ancient alien civilization." "That's the simplified version, yes," Lauren confirmed. After Chancellor Cole's approval, Lauren activated the Guardian before the Earth Council. For 2 hours, it answered increasingly fascinated questions, providing historical data about the Vexery civilization and limited information about why Earth had been selected. But when pressed about the specific nature of the threat, it remained frustratingly vague. "The complete threat assessment will be provided when humanity reaches the appropriate developmental milestone," the Guardian explained. "And who determines when we've reached this milestone?" demanded Counselor Olivia Hayes. "I do," the Guardian stated simply, "based on parameters established by the Vexery." The council erupted in protests, and Chancellor Cole had to call for order. "This effectively places Earth's development under the control of an AI created by an extinct alien species," he pointed out. "That's not sovereignty." The Guardian seemed to consider this. "The Vexery anticipated this concern. Therefore, I am programmed to offer a demonstration of good faith, immediate access to technology that addresses Earth's most pressing challenges." "What exactly are you offering?" Chancellor Cole asked cautiously. "Access to environmental restoration technology that exceeds current Confederation capabilities," the Guardian replied. "The Vexery developed methods to rehabilitate planetary biosystems damaged far worse than Earth's current condition." 3 months later, Lauren stood on a viewing platform overlooking the wastelands of what had once been Central Australia. Below, teams of scientists were preparing for the first large-scale test of Vexery environmental technology. When the test began, the massive arrays constructed across 10 square kilometers hummed to life. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then Lauren noticed a subtle change in the quality of light over the test area. The air itself appeared to be changing. Over the next hour, they watched in amazement as the barren landscape began to transform. First came a layer of moss-like growth spreading outward from each array, followed by more complex plant forms emerging at an impossible rate. By the 3rd hour, the entire test area was covered in vegetation. "It's not just growing plants," Dr. Riley Cooper explained excitedly. "The process is modifying the soil composition, establishing moisture retention systems, and creating microclimates. It's rebuilding the entire ecosystem from the ground up." By sunset, the test area stood in stark contrast to the surrounding wasteland, a vibrant oasis of life where nothing had grown for generations. "It works," Chancellor Cole said quietly, genuine awe in his voice. "If we can scale this up, Earth could be fully restored within a decade," Dr. Cooper finished. "And the technology could be adapted for terraforming Mars and Venus as well." The following year brought rapid changes. As environmental restoration projects transformed dead zones across the planet, the unified government gained unprecedented support. The Confederation upgraded Earth's status to transitional member, granting humans greater access to galactic resources. But not everyone welcomed these changes. A significant minority of humans feared the rapid transformation, seeing it as a loss of human identity. They called themselves purists, and their movement gained supporters with each new technology introduced. "We're becoming something other than human," declared Aaron Blake, the charismatic leader of the purists. "We're reshaping our world according to the designs of an alien species without understanding their true motives." After 15 months of controlled knowledge transfers, the Guardian announced that humanity had reached the first major developmental milestone. The time had come for more information about the threat the Vexery had fled from. The meeting took place in the Sanctum, a secure facility built specifically for interactions with the Guardian. Chancellor Cole and the heads of Earth's scientific, military, and diplomatic divisions joined Lauren as the Guardian's projection materialized before them. Humanity has progressed more rapidly than anticipated, the Guardian began. Your adaptability exceeds projected parameters. We're quick studies, Chancellor Cole replied dryly. But we've assembled today for specific information about this intergalactic threat. The room transformed into a three-dimensional star map. This is the local group of galaxies as they existed during the height of Vexery civilization, the Guardian explained. Approximately 53,000 years ago, the Vexery detected unusual energy signatures from the Andromeda Galaxy, indicating another advanced civilization. Exploratory missions were dispatched to investigate. None returned. The holographic display showed a phenomenon spreading across Andromeda like a slowly expanding shadow. The Vexery called it the diminishing, a systematic reduction of energy output across affected regions. Further observation revealed that the process was fundamentally altering the physical properties of space-time within the affected zones. Are you describing some kind of weapon? Lauren asked. Not a weapon, the Guardian corrected. The Vexery concluded they were observing entities that experience reality through principles that contradict the basic laws of physics, the antinomes. They appear to experience entropy in reverse. Their expansion necessarily comes at the expense of conventional spacetime. Based on observed expansion rates, the Vexery calculated that the antinomes would reach our galaxy within 60 to 70,000 years. Updated calculations suggest first contact with the outer regions of the Milky Way within the next 2 centuries. Why didn't the Vexery fight? Asked General Jason Price. With their level of technology, surely they could have developed some means of containment? They tried, the Guardian stated. All failed because the antinomes operate according to physical principles that the Vexery could not fully comprehend. Their cognition was too rigid to conceptualize effective countermeasures. And this is where humans come in, Lawrence said. Our unpredictability is supposed to help us succeed where they failed? Precisely, the Guardian confirmed. The Vexery recognized that their greatest limitation was cognitive. They theorized that a younger species might develop the cognitive flexibility needed to conceive solutions they could not imagine. The next 5 years saw humanity's most rapid period of advancement since the Industrial Revolution. With carefully controlled access to Vexery technology, Earth solved its environmental and energy crises and began developing the first practical interstellar vessels. But tensions within the Confederation grew, with many species regarding humans with increasing wariness. The purist movement on Earth also gained momentum, with Aaron Blake becoming a member of Earth's Unified Council. Lauren was in her office at the Confederation headquarters when the first reports came in. A research outpost in the Kuiper Belt had gone silent. Within hours, similar reports arrived from 3 more outposts in the outer solar system. The atmosphere in the Sanctum was tense when she arrived for an emergency meeting. Chancellor Cole, General Price, Dr. Cooper, and Aaron Blake were already there with the Guardian. The phenomena detected at the research outposts matched the energy signatures associated with antinome manifestation, the Guardian stated. This is not a full incursion, but rather a probabilistic echo, a precursor to actual contact. That's impossible, General Price objected. Your calculations indicated we had at least 2 centuries before contact. This accelerated manifestation suggests the antinomes may have evolved new methods of extension, the Guardian replied. Lauren studied the data displays. These manifestations aren't random. They're targeting our most advanced research facilities, the ones working with Vexery technology. That suggests intent, General Price said gravely. An awareness of our preparations. Or recognition of Vexery energy signatures, the Guardian countered. The antinomes responded similarly to Vexery technology 50,000 years ago. Chancellor Cole paced the room. We need to establish containment immediately and evacuate all personnel from the affected areas. And we need access to that next tier of knowledge, Guardian. There is a provision within my programming for emergency acceleration of knowledge transfer in case of premature contact, the Guardian explained. However, it requires confirmation through a specific verification protocol, a demonstration that humanity possesses the cognitive and emotional capacity to utilize advanced vexery knowledge responsibly. The Guardian turned toward Lauren. Ambassador Bennett's neural patterns have already been recognized by the SEAL. She can serve as humanity's representative in the verification process. What would I need to do? Lauren asked. Your consciousness would temporarily interface with the archive's verification systems, the Guardian explained. The process would analyze your responses to simulated scenarios involving antinome contact. I'll do it, she said firmly. If there's even a chance it gives us the knowledge we need to protect Earth, I'll do it. A circle of light formed around Lauren, patterns similar to those she had seen on the council chamber floor glowing beneath her feet. The process will begin momentarily, the Guardian informed her. You will experience a series of simulated scenarios. Lauren took a deep breath. I'm ready. The circle of light intensified, rising to surround her completely. For a moment, she felt weightless, disconnected from her physical body. Then reality shifted. She found herself standing on the bridge of a spacecraft, facing an antinome incursion. Earth's last line of defense was failing, and she had to choose between two terrible options. Activate an experimental weapon that might stop the incursion but would kill millions, or attempt a more targeted approach that would likely fail but spare those lives. There has to be another way, she said. The antinomes respond to vexery energy signatures. What if we create a more attractive target away from Earth? That would mean sacrificing this vessel and everyone aboard it, the captain said. Begin evacuation to escape pods, Lauren ordered. Minimum crew remains to pilot. I'll stay to oversee the operation. As the scenario unfolded, Lauren directed the ship to draw the antinome manifestation away from Earth while maximizing survival chances for the evacuating crew. As the antinome phenomenon engulfed the ship, the simulation faded, only to be replaced by another scenario, and then another. Each presented different aspects of the antinome threat and different ethical dilemmas. Through each, Lauren relied on the same core principles, seeking creative alternatives, refusing false dichotomies, valuing human life while accepting necessary sacrifice, and maintaining hope in seemingly hopeless situations. After what seemed like days, Lauren found herself in darkness. A voice spoke, not the Guardians, but something older. Analysis complete. Cognitive flexibility confirmed. Emotional resonance patterns consistent with design parameters. Verification approved. The darkness dissolved, and Lauren was back in the sanctum. She had been in the verification process for exactly 7 minutes. It's not about fighting them directly, she said slowly. It's about strengthening the fabric of our reality, making it more resilient to their influence. Yes, the Guardian agreed. And humans possess a unique ability to conceptualize and manipulate probability through intuitive rather than purely logical processes. Over the next 72 hours, as containment teams struggled to isolate the antinome manifestations, Earth's scientific community worked feverishly to translate vexery theory into practical application. Dr. Maya Foster recognized a connection between human emotional states and quantum probability fluctuations. The same emotional resonance pattern that had activated the SEAL appeared to strengthen local reality against antinome influence. It's not just about the technology, Dr. Foster explained. It's about the consciousness directing it. The vexery couldn't implement their theories effectively because they lacked the emotional component that stabilizes the probability matrix. The solution combined vexery quantum technology with human consciousness. Specialized devices, reality anchors, would be deployed throughout the solar system, each operated by teams of humans whose emotional states would be synchronized and amplified to reinforce local space-time against antinome incursion. This is why the vexery chose humans, Lauren realized. Not just our unpredictability, but our emotional capacity, our ability to experience triumph in the face of impossible odds, to scream defiance at extinction, and somehow bend reality through sheer determination. Lauren insisted on participating directly, taking command of the anchor station nearest to the largest manifestation. As the synchronized activation approached, she addressed all teams. What we attempt today isn't just about defending Earth, she told them. It's about proving that when faced with an impossible threat, humans don't surrender or flee. We innovate. We adapt. We overcome. The activation sequence began. Lauren felt the interface linking her consciousness to the anchor technology, amplifying her emotional state and synchronizing it with others across the system. And then, at the critical moment, Lauren did what had worked once before. She screamed, not in fear but in defiance, in determination, in the absolute certainty that humanity would not yield its reality to the encroaching darkness. The scream was echoed by thousands of operators across the system, a synchronized expression of humanity's will to exist. The reality anchors pulsed with energy, creating a resonance pattern that reinforced the fabric of space-time against antinom influence. Gradually, sensors showed the manifestations beginning to lose coherence. The altered regions of space-time started to revert to normal parameters. Within hours, the incursions had been completely contained. Within days, they had been pushed back entirely. In the aftermath, as celebration spread across Earth and its colonies, Lauren found herself back in the sanctum with the Guardian. The Vexery would be satisfied with their choice, the Guardian told her. You have accomplished what they could not. We've won a preliminary skirmish, Lauren cautioned. The real confrontation still lies ahead. Yes, the Guardian agreed. But you have proven the fundamental approach is sound. With continued development, humanity will be prepared when the antinomes attempt a full incursion. Lauren smiled. That's what makes us human. We face the impossible, and somehow, we find a way through. In the years that followed, humanity continued to develop reality anchor technology, establishing a defense network throughout the solar system and eventually beyond, as human colonies spread to nearby star systems. The Confederation, impressed by humanity's handling of the antinome incursions, granted Earth full membership status. Aaron Blake and his purists eventually reconciled with the new reality, recognizing that humanity hadn't lost its identity but rather fulfilled its potential. The integration of Vexery knowledge hadn't diminished human uniqueness but had instead revealed its true value. The Guardian remained as advisor and archive keeper, though its role diminished as humans increasingly developed their own approaches to the challenges they faced. The Vexery legacy became not a script to follow, but a foundation to build upon. And somewhere beyond the boundaries of the known universe, perhaps the Vexery themselves observed their inheritors with satisfaction, knowing that when the full force of the antinomes eventually arrived, this galaxy would not face them unprepared. It had all begun with a human scream, a sound of defiance that shattered silence and awakened ancient powers. And it would be human determination, human creativity, and human emotion that would preserve reality itself against the encroaching void. And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story.